Hey guys, it's Juan here with West Crypto Portfolio. This is your weekly crypto market update. All right, guys, let's dive right into it, starting with Bitcoin or oil or stocks. Not as usual. This will not be our usual crypto weekly market update for the simple reason that we're in a correlation one moment. And if you don't understand what that is from the written issue, which I recommend you read first before you watch these videos, as always, it basically means that everything is trading as it is the same thing. So it makes no difference whether we watch oil or stocks or Bitcoin right now. These situations don't last long, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks at most. But while they are, well, we're in that regime. This is my new fancy term that I like to use. While we're in this correlation one regime, that means whatever happens to in geopolitics will affect all markets in almost the same way. Now, this is the same chart that I shared with you all on the written issue, and I just want to just just show you how it continues to be relevant. I wrote the issue yesterday. I always write those on Wednesdays, and I record these videos after the market opens in the United States, just about a couple hours after the open. This is when I'm recording this, and you can see that it's still relevant. Now, there's one thing that I didn't want to over elaborate or overcomplicate the written issue, and there's one thing that I think I failed to mention, and that is that of these three assets that you're seeing here, oil inverted, the stock market, and Bitcoin seems to me like the most resilient. You can see it today. Again, not to over elaborate this point, but you can see here how Bitcoin is up actually on the day, trying to break out above the high of the day of today's trading session, while oil is up 7%. So oil up 7%, stock market down about 1%, Bitcoin is actually up about 1%. So Bitcoin is more resilient than the stock market, which is trading near highs, and oil, which is just a political, geopolitical football nowadays, impossible to tell where it's going to go. I do want to touch on that because I do think it's going to come down, simply looking at it through the lens of technical analysis, because that's honestly the only edge I have. I can't help but comment on geopolitics, and maybe I'll comment on that as well. But I do want to emphasize that Bitcoin seems to me like it's a bit more robust than the other two. Like I said, oil, impossible to tell where it's going to go. And it is a geopolitical football. Right now, the Iranians shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, and the so-called allies, NATO, trying to force it open, failing to do so. And every time we get news or headlines regarding that, oil moves around and everything flows through that oil chart and affects everything else. But again, it is encouraging to see Bitcoin and crypto in general a bit more resilient than other major asset classes. And the simple reason is Bitcoin has been beaten down over the last few months, whereas the stock market is near highs. Uh, Bonds, I guess, have been selling off. But comparing stocks and crypto, which are like the two prime risk assets, if you will, it makes sense to see Bitcoin a bit more robust than the stock market, and that simply has to do with what they have been doing over the past few months. Again, Bitcoin has been beaten down, so has been the rest of the crypto market. Whereas the stock market continues to be quite resilient near all-time highs. And so that explains why is relatively stronger than the other. But I do want to emphasize, and this I believe will prove to be true, we're not going to get a breakout in the crypto market unless the geopolitical situation clears out. So speaking of that geopolitical situation, I've been glued to my screen or my phone since the conflict started, not just because it affects us here in the crypto market, but because I like these topics. I find them fascinating. Not that I like war, not at all. I'm actually extremely frustrated with what's happening. I could not be more upset. But I do keep an eye on it because whatever happens next is probably going to define the remainder of this decade and probably beyond. Again, not don't want to elaborate too much on that, but it is clear to me that we're about what 12 days into the conflict. A couple things have emerged, and I mentioned those in the written issue. Number one is the fact that the market cares, and I mean the market in general, risk assets in general, they're particularly focused on oil flows. And so anything that increases the supply of oil or perceived future supply of oil, such as the release of 400 million barrels of oil by the G7 countries, which is about a third of the reserves, that's a short-term solution. It's not going to fix anything in the same way that Biden's release of the strategic oil reserve in 2022 did not fix anything. So short-term solution, quick patch, fine, whatever. But the point is, when the news came out, oil sold off, risk assets like crypto, like stocks, went up. And so this is what the market cares about. Then the Iranians announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is that is their go-to move. It's amazing to me. Here comes a comment because it is amazing to me that the administration, the White House, did not think that this would be done. Like this is what they do. This is what the Iranians do. And I don't know anything, guys. I don't know anything about the history of this region beyond what I've heard, you know, Tucker say and other geopolitical commentators who know a lot more than me about this topic. And I know that their go-to move when under attack by the Iranians is to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That is how they can apply maximum leverage, not just on the region, but on the United States, Israel, and the rest of the world. So this is their go-to move.